Hey there, 6th grade. In this next video, we're going to talk about polygons. You've been working with polygons since you were very, very little. In fact, probably in preschool and kindergarten, you were using polygons and you didn't even know it. For example, if you've ever used or made triangles and rectangles, those are examples of polygons. A polygon is a really general term to describe a closed plane figure formed by 3 or more line segments. And what do I mean by a closed figure? Okay, I mean a figure that has no gaps in its sides. Okay, for instance, if I had a square that looked like this, well, first of all, it wouldn't be a square, but this gap here means that this is not closed, and so a polygon has to be enclosed on all sides. So enclosed on all sides, and it has to be made up of 3 or more line segments. Each line segment forms what's called a side of the polygon and meets but does not intersect another line segment at a common point. Okay, so that's another characteristic about polygons. Line segments, sides, can meet, but they cannot intersect each other. For instance, if you had something like this, okay, these line segments here in the middle, they intersect each other, okay, they cross, and so polygons cannot do that, so that would not be a polygon right there. The point where 2 line segments meet, we call that the vertex of the polygon. Similarly, we have vertex of angles, so any common point between 2 line segments, that's called the vertex of a polygon. So I have an example of a polygon drawn here below. Notice it's not any shape you're probably familiar with, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, and each of the sides is just one of the line segments. And every time 2 sides meet, that point is what's called a vertex. So in the examples below, we're just going to practice determining whether or not figures are polygons, and if they're not, we're going to explain why. So number 1, look at the figure that is drawn and ask yourself, is this a polygon? Well, number 1 is a polygon. And the reason it's a polygon is because it meets the characteristics. All of the sides are closed, none of the sides cross each other, and it has 3 or more sides, so that's what makes number 1 a polygon. Number 2, however, this one is not a polygon. And the reason number 2 is not a polygon is because it is not closed. Okay, notice the gap right here between these 2 sides. Okay, this is not a closed figure. Number 3, it's a closed figure, yes, but notice that it's not made up of only line segments. Okay, some of these sides here are arcs or curves, and so number 3 is also not a polygon. And that's because not all sides are line segments. And finally, number 4, this one is also not a polygon. And we talked about this as well in the characteristics. The line segments of a polygon cannot cross, and so in this one, there are line segments that are crossing. So that's what makes this not a polygon. Okay, moving on, backside. Polygons are classified by the number of sides and the number of angles that they have. So remember, a polygon is just a general term for a closed figure made up of line segments. And now here below we have some more specific terms that tell you what specific type of polygon it is based on the number of sides and the number of angles. Some of these terms you're probably familiar with, and some you may not be familiar with. You're responsible for memorizing all of the terms in this chart here. Okay, and again, some of them you probably already know, and some might take a little bit of work. The first one, I hope everyone knows, a triangle. A triangle refers to a polygon that has 3 sides and 3 angles. Next, we have a quadrilateral. That prefix quad means 4. Okay, a quadrilateral has 4 sides and 4 angles. So a square, for instance, is a quadrilateral. A rectangle is a quadrilateral. Next, we have a pentagon. A pentagon has 5 sides and 5 angles. Next, 6 sides and 6 angles is a hexagon, H-E-X. 7 sides and 7 angles down here is a heptagon, H-E-P-T. So be careful in the difference in those two polygons. They're similar, but one is H-E-X and one is H-E-P-T. 8 sides, if you're familiar with stop signs, you know this one. An octagon. Octagon has 8 sides. Number 9, a non-agon has 9 sides. Okay, 9 sides and 9 angles. And then 10 sides and 10 angles is a decagon. Okay, is a decagon. Okay, so we're going to use those terminologies up there in examples 5 and 6 to just name or classify each polygon based on the number of sides. So number 5, let's count the number of sides. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sides in this polygon. And so because it has 10 sides and therefore 10 angles, this is what's called a decagon. Okay, number 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is what's called a hexagon. Okay, finally I want to talk about what I mean by this term regular polygon. A regular polygon is one in which all sides are congruent and all angles are congruent. Okay, so make sure you know that term. Anytime I'm talking about a regular polygon, I mean one where all the sides are congruent and all of the angles are congruent. So in examples 7 and 8, you're given 2 more polygons, and your job is to name each one and then tell whether or not it is a regular polygon. So number 7, let's name it first. Number 7, 3 sides. This is a triangle. And notice that we have tick marks on all 3 sides, and again, those tick marks mean those 3 sides are congruent to each other. And then we have 3 angles, each measuring 60 degrees, so all of the angles are congruent. So because of that, this is a regular triangle. Okay, finally, number 8, 4 sides to this figure, so this is a quadrilateral. Notice that all of the sides are congruent. They each measure 3 meters, but the angles are not congruent. Okay, this angle here in the upper left corner is congruent to this angle in the bottom right corner, but then we have different tick marks, double tick marks here in this angle and here in this angle. So because those angles are different, this is a non-regular quadrilateral. And it's non-regular because not all angles are congruent. All right, if you had any questions over this video, make sure those are written down for the next time. And until then, 6th grade, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people.